If somebody is, quote unquote, a perfect match and they have all these skills, do the employers tend to shy away from, quote unquote, overqualified? Do they need to dumb down their resume?
I would say no, I would not do that. I would make a point not to overstate your resume. One of the things that annoys me the most is when somebody starts defining, I look at a lot of resumes every day, and when somebody starts defining, you know, I made this change which saved the company $5 million, or which was projected to save the company in the millions, it's like, yeah, that's awesome. I really need somebody to come in and make some parts, and you know, so it's not like we're looking for a new manager or something like that. Or the fact that you did that, that's great stuff. But I'm more interested in what your concrete skills are. What machines have you run? What kind of tolerances were you making? Things like that. But I wouldn't dumb down your resume. No, I would not do that. But many times, and like I said, I look at a lot of resumes, and mostly, yeah, well, I can't say unsolicited because we have, you know, job postings on Craigslist and things like that. So they are solicited, but too many. There are too many, literally too many, for us to respond to everyone. So if you're not hearing back, that's not necessarily a knock against you. It's just that there's so many resumes out there. But I would not dumb it down, but I would not overstate it. I guess that's the best thing I can say about that.
Yeah, I think I can help a little bit on the resumes. And this goes for the whole room, no matter what job that you're going for. You go and you get a resume from here, printed out, and then you start sending that resume everywhere, and you sit back and say, geez, I'm not getting any response. Why am I not getting any response? It's pretty simple. You need to change your resume for every job that you apply to beef up your skills for that key area that the HR person is looking at. I could say, Jim, Dave, when they get resumes that's already been looked at by the HR person who has basically no clue what these guys are truly looking for. They've been on the floor, they looked at a machine, but you have to make your resume a living, breathing document based on the job description that they're putting out there. If you are not changing your resume for your skills, you've got a ton of skills over there, but right now they're only looking for a few of those, and you have to highlight those within the first top part of your resume for them to see, because that's what they're looking for. The HR person's looking for keywords. Key thing, he mentioned tight tolerances because he's a tight tolerance shop. He wants to see that, and he wants to see the machines that he has, whether it be Haas or whether it be some of the other machines that they have. That's what he's looking for, and you've done it, but it's not on your resume, and the HR person looked at it and threw you away on the wayside. These guys are, I believe, they're probably not the first line of defense looking at those resumes from Craigslist. I'm going on a limb saying that. Am I close?
Or no, do you look at all? I get to see them all.
You can see them all?
I'm part of the hiring group.
Okay.
Yeah.
So please make your resume interchangeable. I hope if you're working with a recruiting company, they're telling you the same thing. Our biggest thing when you come in and work with us is more than likely we're going to change your resume up 2 to 3 times, sit down with you and maybe redevelop your interview skills for those keywords going in. So you're right on target to get that job.
And when you do get the interview, you definitely need to be going to the company's website, finding out what they do, what they're all about, and so that when you go in, you're knowledgeable. One of the first question I ask when I'm interviewing somebody is, what do you know about Optimax? Just to see if they haven't bothered to do any homework and find out what's going on. It's not a good sign. But and another point, Todd mentioned having the information in the top part of the resume. Yeah, any resume more than 2 pages is too long. And I've only come to accept 2-page resumes recently. I used to, if you couldn't get it on 1 page, it was not good. But I'm growing with age.
A lot of professionals possibly in here that believe that they would not be able to afford a job that pays $15 an hour, a lower wage than they're used to. How does that translate for transferable skills? Is that a big factor that you look at?
That's a really difficult question to answer. And unfortunately, I'm probably not going to give a very popular answer to it, but we're looking at a pretty specialized field here. Granted, it may not be a degreed position you're looking for, and may not be a 4-year degreed position. So you think of it as just being a broad base. But the skill set is very specific to the industry. And skill set starts to even break down a little bit. I work in the aerospace industry. There are certain things that you need to be able to do well in the aerospace for aerospace type work that you may not need in the medical. Medical, there may be a whole nother special. But it's very specialized, and again, there's much on-the-job training. So, unfortunately, the transfer skills are limited. We have in our training program right now somebody that's going to be starting who is a degreed engineer, and he's going to be in the training program to be a machinist because he has very few transfer skills. That's not great news, I guess, but the reality is the starting wage is still going to be in that same neighborhood, whether you're a high school graduate or whether you're a 50-year-old transfer. Now, from there, those transfer skills hopefully are going to take you on that quicker track, and that review every 6 months over a shorter period of time, you're going to accelerate much quicker than that high school grad who just came in with the same training for that skill for our what we need. So that's, the kind of a boiled down version of it, but unfortunately the skills we need are so specialized, we run into very few transfer skills, even from professional people with degrees as much as engineering, which is fairly applicable.
And I'll take a different perspective on that as well. I understand we've got people with managerial skills and things like that. If we were hiring a manager, then those skills might be transferable. But if we look at the approximately 40 people that we hired last year, we hired 1 PhD scientist, but we didn't hire any managers. So the likelihood, the availability of positions that are going to your skills are directly going to transfer to, it's not that great. And that's something that you're going to have to figure out how to deal with if that's a problem.
There's some skepticism from older folks that say that the employers are going to hire the younger ones because of A, B, and C. Is that true?
I would say, and again, I can only speak for Optimax, categorically not true. We are hiring as many 20-year-olds as we are 50-year-olds. And I think you're mistaken about young people being willing to work their way up the ladder. They want it all, and they want it now. And that's one of the bigger challenges that we have, is convincing these kids that, hey, there is actually a ladder. I didn't start out making $60,000 a year when I walked in the door, and you're not going to be making it by the end of the year. So there is, I think that's one misperception there. But literally, in hiring at Optimax, we've hired people in their 50s this year. Our next person that's going to start is going to start next week, who's retiring from a teaching position, and she's going to start in manufacturing because she wants to change careers. And I'm guessing she's in her 50s at least. So we do not choose At least in Optimax, I can say that. We do not really use that as an influence.
I think I would like to provide personal testimony to what Jim is saying. One of the students who started within our program, he is late 40s, early 50s. He was sitting in the front row when we had a panel discussion of the industry leader about a year ago. And he was forced to ask that question. He said, look at me. If I go through some of this training, would I be able to get a good shot at working at your company? And the president of Optimax, Mike Mandina, told him, yes, you'll get a good shot at it. You may not start out at a salary you were used to making as a senior person in a different field, but you'll quickly progress. And it so turned out that he started working at Optimax even a few weeks before he started the curriculum. So there is definite need for people, and they have such a great need right now that they are not going to look at the age. As far as, from what I can tell, they're looking at skill set and track record of a person in terms of accomplishing some difficult things.
And there was actually a delay in hiring Andreas because his background was an architect. So we're getting this resume from this guy, and he didn't mention who he was or that we had met him at this panel discussion. And so we're getting this resume from this architect, and saw it a couple of times and going, who is this guy? And then we made the connection with Sam, and we hired him. And it was like Sam said, it's not a question of age, and it's not a question of his experience being a perfect match, but his ability to learn things and multitask and do the things that he can do made him a good fit for us. So yeah, he works at Optimax.
I would just add at our job fairs too, because a lot of our students coming through our machine program are in their 40s and 50s, and they are some of the first ones scooped up at the job fairs. And it's because, quite frankly, they know they probably got a mortgage they got to pay, they've got a work record, they know they're going to show up like they said they're going to be, they come in with a solid work ethic. So I would be willing to guess that our more mature students probably get hired quicker than do our new students coming through, because they know they're going to go out and do the job.
I'll just make this one note. Monroe County as a whole is giving grants to companies to hire people under 24 years old. They're giving a company $4,000 if you hire someone under 24. And it was granted, this is all grandfathered in. So I saw that for our company. I said, oh, we've got 300 employees. We've got to have a whole bunch of these guys that are going to qualify. Well, we reviewed it. We had 8 people under 24 years old. Everyone was above that. So to give you an idea, the county's paying to make companies hire these younger people. They're just not working out right now. I mean, they have some growing up to do.
Yeah, it shouldn't discount the value of the maturity. We don't at Optimax. Like I said, the new kids they feel entitled. They should have it all right now, and they're really persistent in trying to make that point.
If full-time school is not possible because of whatever situation a person has, what courses do you recommend that help that person stand out?
I think it would help if you can at least indicate the industry sector you worked in. If you don't need to identify the company, because then that can help us give you some options.
Okay. I was working as an engineering technician and also doing an internal field technician work.
Engineering technician and field technician.
Okay. So what I would say is Delphi Technology Center in Henrietta is looking for people with LabVIEW software and interest in automotive industry. I have a student who was not part of the degree program. He was just helping in the lab last summer. He learned some LabVIEW because he had taken one course. He got hired based on 2 criteria. 1, he had LabVIEW skills. 2, he had interest in automotive industry. So Delphi cannot wait for my students to graduate. They are willing to get them started. So if you're a student in that one class that is ESC 174, As a student, you can buy this gadget for $200, plugs into USB port of your computer, comes bundled with LabVIEW software. This gadget would cost over $800 if you're not a student. And the LabVIEW software costs $2,000 if you're not a student. So with your engineering technical skills, I think you don't necessarily need to be a full-time student in the program in order to start working in other places after you have had some training.
Could you give me the course number again?
ESC 174. Do you have this brochure?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is right in the very first semester, the third course in the first semester. You have some skills with Excel, so that course would be even easier for you because sometimes I'm working with students who have not used Excel for computation. And we basically try to approach problems from multiple perspectives, do things by hand, do things using Excel, do things using LabVIEW, and check it through other means.
Now, if you want to go a machining route, what I would do is probably sit down with you, and because you've got engineering tech, you've probably been reading prints. You know you've got mathematics skills. So we would take a look at what's going to benefit you the quickest to get a job at, one of these two gentlemen's places. You're going to need some machining skills, some understanding machining. So we'd probably start you in a basic machine lab, running mills and lathes, and then I would advance you right into a CNC setup class. So you're getting used to using a controller. So within those two classes, you would at least feel comfortable that you could get into a company like this, know your way around the equipment, understand machining processes, and I think that would open the doors for you. Again, with a background like yours where you do have some print, you do have some math, that would be critical.
I just want to add that with this gadget, $200 gadget, and your computer, it turns into a whole suite of lab equipment like oscilloscope, power supply, function generator. If you were to buy them individually, it would cost you over $10,000. And this can do things that budget would not allow you to do. And you can learn some of this on your own as well. I mean, it's not that difficult to.
Yeah, I just need a great toy right now.
Yes. I think everybody should have one instead of a cell phone.
Are those courses, the machining courses, are those at night or are they during the day?
Both. Yeah, all from night and day. They're typically 3 credit hours, which is 3 hours a week. So our evening courses, we run one night a week for 3 hours at a pop. The day courses are split out to more traditionally. They're 3 times a week for 1 hour or twice a week for an hour and a half. But we try to cater to the folks that are, like yourself, that would be doing some part-time work in the evenings.
And I want to add, Dave Phillips has worked at GW Lisk, working with Finger Lakes Community College. We have a 6-month intensive training program for machinists. Every single person who was in the program was hired at the graduation, correct?
Yep, they all started work as soon as they were done with classes.
So there is, I think you have flyers out there for them.
There's some flyers for that. There's still some open seats in that class.
Right.
These flyers, there weren't enough of them just to pass out. Same with the MCC Precision Machining. I'm going to leave them on the side on the way out if you're really interested in having either of these grab it.
Any other questions? Thought I saw another hand raised. But... Yes.
If we don't have one from the audience, we did get one from the staff that I don't know if it was exactly worded this way. It might have an interesting answer. It is, we seem to be seeing manufacturing workers with experience in older technologies like tool and die or manual machining are having difficulty getting hired. Is it mainly computer skills that they're lacking, or what advice would you offer them? That's number 8 on your.
Okay. Yep. There are a lot of manufacturing workers seemingly with experience in older technologies. They're having a difficulty getting hired. Is it mainly computer skills that they're lacking, or what advice would you offer them?
I guess because I do sit down with a lot of folks that come in with that issue at times, And again, the industry is really being driven by CNC right now. They do have a good understanding of machining principles. They can read prints. They can do everything except stand at that CNC machine and put a file, put the programs in, set up the materials. So that is the one, I think, the one key area that that needs improvement if all you have is traditional manual. Manual's slow, doesn't repeat. It's not in the manufacturing industry. You'll see a couple machines here and there around the shop to do odds and end work, but they're not making money off of those. You've got to be able to run a CNC machine. So if I get somebody like that, person comes in, really all they need is a couple courses, a CNC setup course and a programming course. Those two alone, add on to all of the experience they already have, is going to open a lot of doors for them.
That's really that in a nutshell. Folks that come in with a lot of machining experience that or maybe have been out of the industry for a little while, or they just ran manual equipment, maybe the environment they were in didn't just have a lot of the computerized peripheral equipment as well. So CNC equipment to learn how to set up and work with that CNC machine and learn some of the new systems, some of the other things that I mentioned. That's really the skill set, and take somebody that's a good experienced machinist on manual equipment and to be able to take that step, get the CNC equipment training through MCC. LISC has one that's more condensed. It's both machining and manual, takes all those skills. But basically, that's what we see is if you've got all the manual equipment, you need to be able to step up to that newer one. That's been the big change in the last 5 to 8 years, especially, is all the computer integration.
I think what I would like to emphasize is it is not just computer skills per se. It is how the computers interact with robotics and interact with machines. Not just control it, but sense what the machine is doing and help improve quality on an ongoing basis. So there are lots of people right now who have computer skills, but they do not know how to interface computers to a machine or piece of equipment. And so that is something which is very slowly being integrated in the educational system. Often people learn some of this on the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're thinking about getting it back into the machining industry then, is what you're saying? Yeah, the RTMI, Rochester Tool Machining Institute, is MCC today. We partnered them with 92 when we've moved it on. So that was the program. Yeah, I would say we'd want to, again, you'd sit down with me, we'd take a look at what you have done in the past, what you may need some remediation in. Some of it you're probably not going to need to take again. Again, we would sit down with your background, and I would say, especially if you've been through RTMI, you've worked in the industry, I don't see any issues with you at all getting into most of our courses.